sharing size. It's like that's just for me. Come on.
All right, and we are live at just the right moment. All right, so command opportunities pipeline part 1 of 3. So today is the class that primarily deals with the pipeline itself and creating opportunities and getting started. This is a 3-part series. Part 2 is about DocuSign. We learn about, how to fill out paperwork, how to get it signed, all the fun stuff. And then part 3 is the compliance. So today I do the pipeline first because I find that it's really important to kind of understand what opportunities are and what the pipeline is, because opportunities are going to fall in that pipeline. And when you create a bunch of them, it's good to know, hey, where are they? Where'd they go? I made it yesterday. What happened to it? How do I find it? What do I do here? So I'm going to share my screen. There we are. All right, good deal. So let's look at opportunities. So we are in command and we have gone to the little icon where the hands look like they're shaking. Yeah. We're in opportunities. And so in here, this is where we manage our sales pipeline. And we're going to see right on the screen right away, we're going to see 3 lines that are prominent on the screen. Let's talk about what those are first and foremost. So I'm mainly really going to talk about these first 2 lines because we got listings, buyers, and then leases, right? So listings, pretty much any opportunity that's about a listing is going to go in the listings pipeline. And you got buyers, of course, buyers are going to go in the buyer pipeline, and then leases for all landlords and tenant representations, right? And for each line, there's these 5 distinct phases. And you'll notice that they're kind of the same for the most part, with the one exception being this little guy here. So we've got cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. And then for leases, they have pending instead of under contract. But those are our 5 phases. And when we create opportunities, they're going to fall in this pipeline, right? So what do I mean by an opportunity? What is an opportunity? Who wants to tell me? Who knows? I have a feeling Brandon Brack knows. I'm going to put him on the spot. Or he's got to share those M&Ms. One of the 2.
An opportunity within command or an opportunity in general?
Yeah, within command.
I would say any real estate business.
Ooh, love that.
Right?
Yeah, it's representative of a current or potential piece of business. Yeah. And we're going to track it all the way from cultivate when we first meet somebody, right? Into appointment, when we got something scheduled with somebody. We're going to go on an appointment. We're going to be in the appointment phase. And in the appointment phase, we're working on getting an active agreement of some kind, whether it's buyer representation or listing, which becomes active. Then while we're active, we're looking to get under contract, right? And then we're under contract, we're heading into close. So we can track things all the way back from when we first met someone all the way to the closing table, which is pretty nice, pretty neat. It's also pretty literal too. I kind of like how this works in opportunities, because what do we do in real estate business? Well, we create opportunities for our people, right? And then in command, we're going to create opportunities for our contacts. Pretty straightforward. Now, in order to make an opportunity, you must first have contacts in your database, because you are going to create the opportunities for contacts. If you don't have any contacts, you're not going to be making any opportunities. Okay. So if you don't have anybody in your database right now, I would highly suggest quickly going and adding yourself to your database as a contact with your email address just to get started. Let's go back to the 5 phases again. So these 5 phases, these are not customizable. They're always going to be these 5 phases, and they're going to be in this order. But you can click on a phase, right, on its icon, and it'll take you inside of that phase. So I just clicked the appointment icon on the listings pipeline. So where is that going to take me? It's going to take me inside the listing pipeline in the appointment phase, and then I see these columns. I got scheduling, scheduled, rescheduled, and appointment held for mine. Now yours might look different because I've customized these, right? And you can customize yours. This is where the customization of your pipeline comes into play. Now, I would not jump right in and start making massive customizations yet. I would follow what you're learning in Ignite and in NER. before you get into doing that. Just use the defaults for now or anything Coaching Club tells you. But know that these can be customized. And inside of here, so the stages here, scheduling, scheduled, rescheduled, appointment held. For active, we've got pre-listing, live on MLS, negotiations, and legacy. If we go into the buyer active phase, we're going to see different stages: searching, showing, negotiations, and legacy here, right? So each phase is going to have its own stage. So essentially, you have 3 pipelines made up of 5 phases. Inside of the phases, there are stages. And the only thing that can be customized are those stages. Now let's create. Any questions about that before I even create an opportunity? Any clarity seeking? I almost said missiles. Clarity seeking missiles. I'm gonna start using that from now on. Who's got the clarity seeking missile? Full clarity has been achieved. Wonderful. We're going to create an opportunity. Now, you're also going to see this import button. For all the new people out there that are watching this in the future, the import button, you can pretty much safely, completely ignore that, right? You're not going to be using this really at all. This is for folks that spent a lot of time in dotloop in the past and wanted to import all of their loops into opportunities for just the data of it and the background data. It's completely not necessary. It's totally optional. And if you've not used dotloop for a long period of time and you don't have a need to bring all that in, I would say just ignore it altogether. There's no use for it for you. So we're going to create an opportunity by hitting create opportunity. Yeah. Oh gosh, I totally forgot. Before I do this, I do this every time. Up top, you'll notice you might see 2, maybe 3 tabs that are open to you, maybe 4. The first one might be your name, and then you're going to see all opportunities. Now, if you're on a team, you're going to see another one right up front. It's got your team name that you're a part of. Which pipeline you use, and if you click on it, you'll notice it's fairly identical from this view, right? It'll be 3 more pipelines. Depending on what team you're on, you may want to use your team pipeline, or you might only have your team pipeline as an option, right? If you're on a team. Is anybody here on a team? We all individual agents? Great. No point in really talking about it then. Be using your pipeline with your name on it. And then, of course, there's also all opportunities, which provides a list view of your opportunities. I just so recently cleaned out mine on this account, so there's not really any to see, unfortunately, but we'll get a chance to see that here in just a second when we go to create one. So let's do that. Boom, it's time. It's time. So the opportunity, first things first, it needs some information from us before it can create the opportunity. First things first is Market Center for anybody who's watching in the future. Unless you're an expansion agent and belong to more than one Market Center, you shouldn't really have anything to do here. You should just see the one that's on there. If you are in multiple market centers, that is one that you definitely want to pay attention to because you can't change that when it's done. And if you put the wrong one, you will have to archive and start over later whenever you find out. Just taking a heads up. Team, same concept. If you're not on a team, you won't see anything here. You can't do anything about it. No big deal. But if you are, it'll show either the team name or be blank and just switch to whichever pipeline you are using. It will go into your personal or your team pipeline, depending on which one you pick here. Again, talk with your team to determine which one you should use. Every team is different, has different policies. Opportunity type is a big one to pay attention to that oftentimes gets ignored, and it's important not to ignore it because it defaults to listing, right? But if you click here, you'll see 4 different types that you can make: listing, buyer, landlord, or tenant. Listing obviously goes to the nice green line. Buyer goes to the orange. Landlord and tenant both go to the purple one, right? This is important too because this is also a field that you cannot change once it's created. So if you've created this and you realize later on in the road that, oh my gosh, this was for a buyer, not a listing, you will be in the business of archiving this opportunity and making a new one, right? Just as a heads up. Not that it's really that painful. It's really not, but it's, it's annoying to have to restart, right? Okay, then we have owner. Now, once again, I know nobody here is on a team, but if you're watching in the future and you are on a team and you have your team selected, you will notice the owner is the leader of your team and not you, and that is okay. right? Because your team leader will own all the opportunities in his or her pipeline. You will notice an extra field if you're on a team down here at the bottom that's called assignee, where you will find your name, and that is what matters. Now, if you're solo, you're going to notice the owner is you, because hey, you're the guy or the gal that is running the show for your business. And then we're going to pick client. Now, client, it says here, type into search. So if you click and you notice nothing, be sure to type something first. I think I've put Brandon. I have. Very good. I've got Brandon in my database. So Brandon is my seller today. This is also the part where if you had used the relationship function when you were tagging your contacts and when you mark people's relationship, if I had put that Brandon was in a significant relationship with someone in my contact, it would suggest that contact to me right now. And actually just let me click them and put them in there. Opportunity name by default is going to show the client name hyphen whatever type of opportunity it is, but that is not what we want to keep it as. What do you guys think we should name our opportunities?
The property.
Oh, the property address. Very good. Who said that?
Wendy.
Wendy. Bonus points over to Wendy today. Yeah, we're going to name it after the address. Now, you might be thinking, well, Evan, hold on. I'm making a buyer opportunity, and we don't have an address yet. What do in that circumstance? And that's a good question. For that circumstance, you can name whatever you want, but just remember, before you submit a deal for compliance, you will need to update the name. And you can edit the name after an opportunity has been created. That is fine. So in this case, we're going to put 1234 Summer Beach House Drive, because Brandon has just, he's not really going out to his summer beach house as much as he thought he was, and he needs to liquidate some assets. So he's going to go ahead and sell that summer home of his. Then we got custom tags. Now, we've talked about tags before in another applet. Who remembers? What else do we tag? I'm going to force us to participate, guys.
Contacts?
Yeah, that's right. Contacts, absolutely. Now, this is not the same thing as contact tags. What I mean by that is that you'll notice that I have Brandon tagged in my database, but there's no tags here. So these aren't contact tags, but they work exactly the same. In this case, we're just tagging the opportunity, right? And what you might tag here, one of the things that I've heard that I'm a big fan of, I say pro tip, is tag it with the vendors that you use, right? So let's say I used NHI as my home inspection company. I have a tag called NHI. So if I ever want to go see all the deals that I've worked with them, I'll see that there. Title company in this case was Foundation Title. Estimated closing date. This is just an estimation. This is not a finality field. There is a field, an opportunity called close date, and it is different than this field. This is just the estimated close date when you made it. So I'm going to say middle of April sometime. And then, of course, we've got estimated list price and commission rate. You guys can, I bet you guys can guess what that's calculating. So we're going to say $1.5 million because Brandon is a baller out of control. Now, because this is a listing, what commission rate should I use here? What's the standard rate?
$6.
That's a trick question. There's no standard rate. I love doing that. No standard rate, right? Rates are negotiable. And that being said, you're thinking of what you'd put in the listing agreement, right? I want you to reconsider that. You want to put down what you expect to make, right? So after you've paid the buying broker in this case, what are you taking out of the deal? In this case, I'm just going to put 3. And then we have cultivate, phase, and stage. Now, we talked about this earlier, and that's why I start with the pipeline, because when you're creating the opportunity, you have to pick where it goes. So it's important to kind of understand, to be somewhat familiar with the pipeline as it is set up so that you know where to go once you've created the opportunity, right? So in this case, I'm going to put this one in appointment, And we're going to say that we scheduled an appointment, because for me, that's when I like to create my opportunities, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't use the cultivate phase. And I'm not saying you shouldn't create opportunities until you've got an appointment scheduled. That's just when I do it. Okay. You can create them whenever you would like, but you'll notice you don't see under contract or closed as options. You only see the first 3 phases. And that is implying, of course, that if you're under contract, chances are you would have made one of these already, because you need to get in here and do paperwork to begin with. So it's a little on the nose there. If for whatever reason you're using a third-party software solution to get paperwork and you're just realizing, oh my gosh, I need to make an opportunity to get it closed, you can pick active for now and move it. It's fine. Once you've created it, you can then move it wherever you want to. But I'm putting appointment and scheduled in here, and I'm pretty much ready to rock and roll for this opportunity to get started. So I'm going to hit the create button. And boom, we're right in there. Now, if you're following along, I want you to stay where you are. I'm going to go back to the pipeline tool. You guys tell me, where should I go to get back to my opportunity? What should I click on?
Appointment,
Appointment. Okay, this one.
listing appointment.
Listing appointment. Right. Good deal. Now, this is like really easy because we only have the one opportunity in the pipeline. But normally I would say, hey, what stage were we in, right? Who remembers? But we see here it's in scheduled. Now, if I want to move this opportunity from one place to another, it's really easy to do so. I just drag and drop it. If we end up getting it, we have our meeting. We had an appointment held. It was great. Brandon and I had a fantastic time. We went to Cheesecake Factory and we had all the cheesecake. And Brandon was so impressed with my ability to eat that he said, we're signing this listing agreement tomorrow. Let's make it happen. So we got it signed, and now I'm gonna move him to active. Well, to move him to active, I just bring it up. You guys see how there's, I don't know if you can see it on the screen that's being shared, but you see how kind of like as soon as I started dragging, there's boxes around the phases up top. And then as soon as you kind of get over active, you'll see how it turns blue. Whenever it's blue, you can let go. And that means it's going to pop it over into the first stage of that phase. If you go backwards, it's quite the opposite. If I drop it into appointment, it's going to move it into the last stage of that phase because I went backwards. And to get back into the opportunity, all I got to do is click on the blue text, the address here, and we're back in. The other way to get back in, of course, is through all opportunities. This is a list view of all of my opportunities that are in here. I can search and filter, sort, and all kinds of good stuff there. Now, lastly, one thing to keep in mind, if an opportunity moves through the pipeline and gets into closed, eventually it comes off the pipeline when it's been enclosed, right? Because as time goes on, you wouldn't want this one to just grow and grow and grow. It's going to throw off all our numbers, right? So eventually it will fall off the pipeline. You will always find it in all. All will show you every opportunity that you have access to, regardless what pipeline it's in or if it's even on one anymore. Inside the opportunity, once you create one, takes you here to the inside of it. We're going to see a big old first things first, our home screen. The one thing I want to draw your attention to real quick, if you're ever lost and confused as to where you might be, hey, look at this little guy right here telling us exactly where we are. We are in the sales pipeline. We're in the listing. We're in the appointment phase. Oh, that's very, very unique, or not unique, very useful. Excuse me. Then we see the opportunity name. We see the contact. I can always just click and see his information, or I can go right back to the contact record to showcase the last place to find this opportunity, which is actually on the contact, right? So if I go into my contacts and I pull up Brandon Brack, there's an opportunities tab for this contact that shows me all the opportunities that I've had or currently have with this contact record. And of course, I can go right into it from there as well. There's 3 different ways to get to your opportunity. Now, I'm a tech guy. My eyes are always naturally quickly drawn to a navigation bar. I love me a good navigation bar. And this one, I can do all kinds of navigating with this navigation bar. There's plenty of tabs here. And gosh, I sure do love me some tabs too. All right. Now, Details has got a big blue underline under it, which would imply that that's what we're currently looking at. Yep. And the details page is essentially, it's the first page you see whenever you get into an opportunity, and it's going to show you basically a cover sheet of all the information about that transaction. Very useful. Yes, very useful. Yes, yes. Totally useful. In fact, you could even edit it. Now, it's very faint. I get this question a lot, which is like, how do I edit my opportunity? How do I change the name? I always tell people to look for the pencil, the top right of the detail section, which is kind of a hard descriptor because it's this little guy right here. Depending on your screen's contrast, it can be kind of hard to see. If you hold your mouse over, it gets a little darker, right? But it's there. If you click on it, you'll be able to edit stuff. Here's all the same information we just inputted. Plus, we got some more things like time frame, appointment scheduled, appointment date. So I can actually put in the date that we scheduled the appointment, the date it was scheduled for, when I got the agreement, when we went under contract, and the actual close date. And remember earlier I said the estimated close date and the close date are two different things. Important for record keeping. We got listing price and commission rate. Good deal. I can change the contact on there, but notice that I can't change the owner. I can't change the market center, and I can't change the team. And type's not even on here, right? So I can't change that. So if I made an oopsies on any of those, I need to archive it and I need to restart. I made a mistake, right? Then we have the property information, which if it's already listed, I can pull it from the KWLS. If I have it listed on the market, I can pull it in completely to search it up and grab the details and go ahead and attach it to there. Very useful. And then we have our seller's worksheet, which is essentially, this is not something you would hand your seller and say, hey, here, let's fill this out. You would do a seller's worksheet exercise with your seller and take some of those results and plug them in here. This is going to be very useful when you're comparing multiple offers. You can actually have it show the potential net on offer comparisons, right? Or estimated net. Would be issue no guarantees. Seller profile. Now, this is very useful if the contact has your consumer app and has an account that this contactor is associated with, right? So if I had sent Brandon my app, he created an account using the same email that I have on his contact record, then I'd be able to see how far along he's doing with the seller's guide that is in the app that I have set up for him. We've got documents, which we're going to pick this up in the DocuSign class. We're going to come back to documents because really the next two classes, we pretty much spend all our time in this tab right here, the all important documents tab. If you want to get a head start, feel free to come on in, pick a checklist type, residential or commercial, and have a look at the documents that are going to be required of you for each type of transaction. Very useful to review while you're doing your contracts classes. I almost said in lieu of, and I would not, if that's what you thought. No, not in lieu of. Excuse me. Forgive me. This would be something to review in tandem with. That was the word I was looking for, in tandem with contracts class. Offers and commissions. Now, I'm not going to talk about offers and commissions today, mainly because we are not using this tab just yet. It does work, and I would highly encourage you to, when you are working a contract, to fill it out, right, and use it, because we will switch to this. This will eventually be where you guys go to request your commissions officially, right? It will be required to get paid. Right now, we're using a little thing called Green Sheets, right, which is inside the MyKW system. Talk a little bit more about that later. Notes is good for just like anything there's on a field for. Right, I want to make some notes, put it on the opportunity. I'm a big fan of record keeping. So I'm a big fan of notes. I'm a big fan of putting all my notes. You guys have heard me before. I like to treat my CRM like a brain dump. I just take everything out of my brain and put it in here so I don't have to remember it anymore. It's the only way I can stay sane. Last but not least, we have timeline. For individual agents, you may not use this very much, but this is a really good troubleshooting tool. If you're like, what in the world happened? You can come and see any activity that happened to an opportunity, which in this case, you see a lot of checklist items were prepared for this. I didn't tell you guys about checklists yet. Moving that opportunity around earlier created tasks for the opportunity as I moved back and forth throughout the thing. So you can see anything that happened. whenever someone tells me their opportunity has disappeared from the pipeline and we find it through the contact record, one of the first places I'm looking is timeline to see, did it get archived? Almost every time there will be a note that says it was archived. That will happen. That's all the things you can do inside of an opportunity. You want to archive it. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. No, come back. There's also this little guy right here called lost opportunity. Lost opportunity. When would you mark something as lost, right? This is not the same as archiving an opportunity, and that is important to know. Marking an opportunity as lost is an entirely different thing. Marking an opportunity as lost means you've lost the opportunity, right? It fell through. You're no longer going to get the listing. You're no longer going to sell that listing. Maybe you lost the listing agreement. Maybe they fired you. Maybe you fired them. Maybe they were crazy, right? Who knows? This is important to know because this helps keep track of your conversion rates. So if opportunities don't make it, you can mark them as lost to say, hey, I failed to convert at this point, right? I'm going to go back into the pipeline view real quick and talk about editing and talking about the customization you can do in stages. So when I'm in the phase view, I'll call it that, where I'm looking at the stages themselves, there's a little button here called Edit Stages. This will allow me to rearrange the order of, delete, rename, or add new stages. I can do whatever I'd like to do here. On each stage, there's also a probability that will come up later. Remember this. And then there's also this checklist. And this checklist, I can click on it and I can actually add checklist items to the stage. So I want you to be thinking about that. You can actually plot out everything that you're going to do systematically from the time that you meet a contact to the time that you close them. And you can completely document that as checklist items so that as you move the opportunity through the stages, it will be assigned those checklist items of that stage when you move it into that stage. So in this case, for scheduled, okay, that's a terrible example. Let me try appointment held. Prepared listing agreement, prepared listing disclosures is what I have here, right? Because I might be doing that during the appointment held. My examples are fairly bare bone. But as I move an opportunity into a stage, we'll see here that, oh, it's got 2 new checklist items. If I give those checklist items due dates, this is key. If I give them due dates, when I move an opportunity into a stage, so my workflow is, okay, we had the appointment, I move the opportunity into that stage, the checklist items automatically load up, I give those checklist items their due dates, and now if I come out of here and I go on, let's say tasks, for example, you may have noticed before in orientation or in basics, what is this little guy here? Why are there 2 tabs in tasks? There's contact tasks, which is the one you spend your most time in. And then you look over here and there's opportunity tasks. And if I come into the next 7 days, I'll see, oh, hey, look at those checklist items from my opportunity. They're here because I gave them due dates. If I didn't give them due dates, they wouldn't populate here. That's important to know. I actually count that as the 4th way you can get back to an opportunity. Last but not least, let's talk about one of the more useful tools of opportunities, which is income prediction. I've got an opportunity in this pipeline. I've got a potential income of $45,000 in this pipeline. Whoo-wee. Where did I get that number from? How did that number get to be here? Think about everything we've told this system. Let's remember, you've
commission.
seen everything we've put in this system. Go ahead. Someone was going to say something.
It's your commission based on
Commission.
your sales price. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Okay, so sales price and what else?
Commission rate.
Commission rate. Remember on this opportunity, I had given it a sales price and a commission rate. Therefore, this opportunity is potentially worth $45,000. It's the only opportunity in the pipeline. So that's what shows up here. So it's going to look at every opportunity in your pipeline, take their commissions from there by multiplying the sales price by the commission rate for each one and adding them all together to get this rate here, $45,000. Then we have probable income, which is $22,500. Now, why is this number different and how is it different? How did you get this number?
50-50 split.
It's not splits.
No clue.
You remember earlier when we were editing the stages and there was a particular column I said, we're going to come back to it. I didn't explain anything about it. I said, hey, remember this one for later. And then I whistled.
Was it the column? It had like percentages in it, right?
It did. It very much did. And we can see those same percentages here. Now, Brandon, you're a super smart guy because right away you said 50% because you did the math in your head, right? And for whatever reason, come here. Well, in the appointment held column, we have a 50% here. That's no accident, all right? So each stage happens to have percentages associated with them. Now, notice we go to cultivate. We got 10%, 7%, 0%, 10%, 20%, 50%, 40%, 80%, 80%, 90%, 90%, 90%, 100%. What do you think that percentage is trying to communicate?
The process along the way. How
You
close
need it.
you are to close.
Oh, what was that?
How close you are to close.
Super close, very close. That's how likely something is to close from the stage that it's in. So for me, what I've said, and again, I didn't do a very good job of mine customizing, right? Because I go from appointment held being 50 right into 40%. So apparently, as soon as you sign a contract with me, I'm saying you're less likely. But this is how likely this opportunity is to get to the closing table here. This is my conversion rate, right? To get it to closing. So probable income is going to, I might have a lot of opportunities in cultivate and a couple in under contract, and I'm going to notice a sharp decline between my potential and probable because things in cultivate aren't likely to close. Whereas things that are under contract are much more likely to close and have a greater contribution to that number. And it will always be less than potential because potential doesn't, it just takes everything at gross value. Right? So the joke I like to tell is potential income is where your hopes and dreams are, and probable income is what you tell your spouse. Hey, okay, I'm done here. I'll be here all week. It does that for each pipeline, and then at the bottom, it'll even add them all up for you so you can see the entirety of it. And then we have this activity right here, which is showing us how we're doing with how many opportunities we have. So as opportunities come in, this number goes up. As they fall off from closing or get archived or marked as lost, it goes down. So we can kind of see how healthy we're doing with our pipeline, how our activity is doing. And then last but not least, at the very bottom, we have closings this month. So anything with the closing date, not estimated closing date, but closing date within 30 days, it's going to show you those opportunities as a quick view. The things that are soon to close that might be on your mind are going to be right here on the home screen right in front of you. And then all of that feeds into reports. And it'll feed into your goals. And it'll feed into your opportunities report and everything else. And that is the basics, my friends, of opportunities. What we're going to cover from this point, we're done for today. But in the next couple of classes, we are going to cover DocuSign, getting things signed. We're going to cover compliance, how to get files reviewed, what that process looks like, and how to get paid. So tell me, you guys, what is your questions about pipeline and opportunities, everything we covered today? What clarity-seeking missiles do we have?
I have one.
All right.
So at what point in the entire process are you creating it? Is it after you have an appointment and like decide on a price to sell and after you have everything signed that you're their agent?
That's totally up to you.
Okay.
When you create them, I mean, you have to create it before you get going on paperwork, right? So before then, for certain. But if you don't want to use the cultivate phase, you don't have to. And you can define it as you want, right? Because you can make the stages be your own thing. In this case, for cultivate, these are people that I'm working on that I know are probably going to buy soon or sell soon or do business soon, but I haven't got an appointment with them yet. So they're just before that.
Okay, how do you figure out what price to put in then if you haven't like sat down and decided?
So 2 things to note. 1, you don't have to put a price in.
Okay.
So
Got
that's when
it.
the create opportunity. Price is actually not one of the required fields.
So it could
can
stay
add that in
blank
later.
until you
Yeah,
figure it out.
you can give it your best guess too. You can give an estimate. You can give whatever you want. Because again, it's only 10% probability, or whatever probability is set there. Usually it's pretty low in this area. It's not going to like really mess up your probable income figures. It will show a higher potential income if you guess really high numbers in cultivate, because potential again is just taking commission rates and prices. But the probable income is probably the more meaningful number. But this gives you an idea of like the value of your pipeline. So it's kind of up to you how you want to use it, right? The tool has many facets. And if you don't get any value out of using the cultivate phase, well, guess what? You don't have to. But if you want to keep track of those people that you're just like, okay, if you want to use that phase, is like I check my cultivate phase for the folks I need to be calling very regularly, and I'm going to call each opportunity that's in that list, then hey, cultivate could be very useful for you, right? I pretty much always create them at appointment, because by that point, I want to be ready to make out paperwork right then and there, right? If I'm going into an appointment, get things prepared for that person. So for me, that's the perfect time, because that's when I know I'm going to need paperwork and I'm going to rock and roll with it. But I've seen plenty of people use cultivate at a very high level. I've seen plenty of people also avoid it. It's just dependent on your model and how you want to structure it. The world is your oyster, as it were. Other clarity-seeking missiles. Does that answer your question, Sarah? Beautiful.
I have a question, Evan.
Damn.
When you showed us how to pull the listing off of the MLS, can you show
Yeah.
us that again?
Absolutely. So I'm in an opportunity, and there's this little option here called select from listing. So I can actually pick the listing off of the MLS. This is not limited to KW listings. I can put any listing from any MLS on this one, so long as it's related to that transaction. Of course, you'd want it to be that one, not just a random house. Now, if I go to select from listings, this part by default, it says show only my listings. And here's just a known bug, guys. This list is always empty. If you have listings, you're like, what the heck? My listing's not here. You may or may not be affected by this bug, but if you are, it's no big deal. Just change it to all and search for the address. You will find it. It will be there. It's just a weird visual bug. It has no other consequence besides one extra step of searching it. But if I want to type in, let's just say, I'm just going to go grab a random, random listing here. Select this one. Now, this opportunity is attached to that one. I'll also notice the property details automatically filled in for me. And it's also now on the opportunity card. So I'll even see it right there. So it is very useful to do that. And if I want to get rid of it, I just click on it again. I can edit to change it or just remove it altogether. Oh, I didn't talk about archiving. So marking something as lost is good for when you've lost the opportunity. Archiving is good for I've made an oopsie and I don't want this to actually count for anything because it was not really ever supposed to exist, right? When I'm looking at the opportunity here, I can click on the 3 dots and click archive opportunity, and that will send it away to my archive. It's still accessible. I can go into my settings and find it and restore it if I did a double oopsie, right? But that'll take it out of pipeline view and it won't count. It won't count towards conversion rates and it won't go to reports. It'll act as if it never existed. But if Brandon realized that being able to eat large amounts of Cheesecake Factory was in fact not a quality needed to sell his home, and it turns out I did not possess those qualities that he actually needed, then he can come in here and mark this. He could fire me, and then I can come in here and mark this as a lost opportunity. And that will go, oh, now we're in preview mode. We can no longer edit or change anything until we save or undo that. Other questions, thoughts, concerns, feelings, emotions? Okay, we can also open up to questions about just anything you're doing in command as a whole. It doesn't have to be about opportunities. We're sounding pretty quiet. Sounds like we're ready for the weekend, so I'm going to let you guys have at it. Thank you so much for joining me this Friday. Not tomorrow, Monday, we'll be doing DocuSign. Same time, same place. See you then.
7.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.